Well, last week the focus was on talks in Brussels over the terms of the divorce settlement. This week the government is shifting its focus to what a post-Brexit trade deal could look like with the US, as International Trade Secretary Liam Fox visits Washington for 2 days of talks. So is this a positive step and a new direction for the UK, or will any deal pale in comparison to the benefits of being part of the single market? Well, joining me is the Conservative MEP and board member for Leave Means Leave, David Campbell Bannerman, and James McGrory, Executive Director of Open Britain. So, David, if I could talk to you first of all about this, you must be cock-a-hoop. This is the start of a bold new venture between the US and the UK.
I think it is. I mean, we are each other's largest investors. We already have a very close relationship. But US-UK at the moment is WTO rules, so you have tariffs on cars and like Jaguars or Jeeps coming in, or jeans, Californian wine. I think it would be very good news. It would be a very quick deal. I mean, I have proposed through Leave Means Leave that you do a very quick deal, and then you do the longer-term stuff. You come back for more. But clearly Washington really wants this deal very, very fast, as President Trump has said. But it's also, you know, Speaker Paul Ryan is behind it, Marco Rubio. There's a lot of goodwill in Washington. Get on with this. And it is one of the main benefits of Brexit, yes. Well,
goodwill. We should be taking advantage of this, James. This is an opportunity, not a stumbling block.
Look, free trade with the USA and indeed around the world is a good thing. I think people on both sides of the Brexit argument would agree on that. I think the piece of work that Liam Fox needs to do, which he's actually been asked to do by the Treasury, is to say, look, these are the trade deals that I'm seeking to do with the US and with other countries. Here are the benefits that I think they'll bring us. Will they balance out or increase the losses that we know are going to happen from leaving the single market and the customs union? Liam Fox has been asked to do that piece of work by the Treasury. Unsurprisingly, I think that answer has not been forthcoming, because they know the drop-off in trade with our largest partner, the European Union, from leaving the single market and the customs union will not be offset by new trade deals with the US and with other countries.
I mean, that's true, isn't it, David Campbell Bannerman? I mean, we've got the Foreign Secretary down under at the moment in New Zealand and Australia, but even if we add that together, it's still not going to make up for what we potentially will lose from the EU.
Well, I think this is a complete false argument. We want to retain trade with the EU. We are their largest customer, by the way, as well. Let's not forget that. We want to retain that, but it's only 44% of our exports now. 56% is the rest of the world. That's still a large percentage, though. Yeah, I'm not saying that deal would cover that, but the 56% is the rest of the world, and that's growing. The EU share is going to fall to 35% within 10 years. So we need to actually look for new opportunities. Where is the world growing? Australia is growing. The economy is good. Canada, India, 7% growth there. That's where the opportunities are. And this really is icing on the cake. We do want to retain trade and open access to the EU, obviously. That's part of what we're doing. I've been involved with the Canada deal. They've got 99% access, no freedom of movement, and no access fee to pay. We can do better than that.
James?
Well, it's what we've been promised time and time again, isn't it? That we're going to retain the exact same benefits, is what the government say, as membership of the single market and the customs union. So you keep all the good bits, don't have to have any of the bad bits that David says.
We're back to cake and eating it, aren't we?
We are. We're back to cake and eating it. And at the same time, we're going to have a load of new cakes with every country you can possibly think of around the world. Look, I'm reasonably sceptical about that, and I'd like to see some actual tangible evidence put forward, because at the moment, it's just rhetoric. We'll definitely be able to keep...
We can't get that tangible kind of benefit or analyse it unless Liam Fox does go to places like America and engages in these kind of conversations.
I'm all for him going there. I mean, if he doesn't, he would literally not have a job to do. That is the only part of his job, and I salute him for going over there. That's exactly what he should be doing. But at the same time, he has got people in his department, very, very clever people, excellent civil servants. They know roughly what you can model these things, what a trade deal with the USA would bring you, and what a trade deal with Australia would bring you. And you can also model different models of when you leave the single market and the customs union. This is very, very possible. I think there's a reason why they're refusing to bring forward evidence, and I think it's because they don't believe it can be stacked up.
Well, I'm just going to say that one of the hard evidence you can look at is the fact the EU is not doing a trade deal with China, hasn't even started. I'm on the Trade Committee. India, I'm writing the report on that. Nothing's happened for 8 years, really.
They're just about to do one with Japan, the world's third largest economy.
It's a political agreement. It will take till the end of 2019. I welcome that. I'm a pro-free trade.
So it takes till the end of 2019.
America, US, you know, TTIP is obviously dead. They haven't even started the next stage. So the EU is actually failing willing to deliver on trade deals, and we can, as a fifth largest economy in the world, or even fourth now, I gather, as this morning, we can actually deliver these trade deals pretty quickly. It's actually far less complex for one country to do a trade deal than 28 nations. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but we want to retain very good trading relations with the EU. I accept that.
James, I mean, is there a danger that the accusations that you're talking the country down, could be realised if, nascent negotiations like this, where we're trying to establish a trade deal, we're going into it saying, well, it's not going to make up what we've lost?
As flattered as I am that you think I can move the global economic markets, I suspect it's probably less a case.
Well, keep an eye on them.
I mean, please do. If you do, let me know, and I'll go talk to a broker. Look, I think what's realistically more important is the view of other governments around the world about how attractive we are. Bear in mind, the terms on which we do trade deals with other countries will be intrinsically linked to the level of access that we have to the world's largest marketplace, which we're already a part of. 500 million consumers, the richest marketplace in the world, that's right on our doorstep. Now, other countries are going to be interested in how much access we have to that. And I think what nobody is suggesting is you can leave the single market and the customs union and still have all the benefits. I think that now has been proved to be categorically wrong. And the idea that we're going to make up the shortfall with trade with the Philippines, where Liam Fox was recently, which is 0.4% of British trade. David's already said it's 44% of our trade with the single market. I think instead of just saying, oh, you've got to get behind Brexit and talk positively, let's have a debate based on the evidence and the facts of what is and isn't actually deliverable and achievable, rather than just say, oh, we'll definitely get a trade deal with India and China and America. I'm not necessarily sure that's true.
Just taking like the single market and customs union, I mean, the customs union, your customs union that you're defending, imposes like 60% tariffs on shoes. It could be far better off, consumers could be far better off in Britain, by actually reviewing all our tariffs with the world. We are imposing these tariffs because we're in the EU customs union. I think there's real benefit. The other thing is the single market. Even the EU estimates that its costs outweigh its benefits at least 2 to 1.
That is just not true.
EU Commission figures. EU Commission figures. Over-regulation.
So all the countries that are desperate to be of themselves said that it's a 2 to 1 disadvantage to be in the single market. The world's largest marketplace.
EU Commission figures show that
all the economic analysis that's been done by the Treasury, the Bank of England in this country, has shown significant benefit over decades to British membership of the single market, which is why you're saying you want to retain all the benefits of it. It does have benefits, because you've said you want to retain them.
You want access to the single market.
But you want to retain the benefits of it.
You want access
to the single market. But you said you want to retain the benefits of it.
I want the benefits of trade with the single market, which is access. I mean, you say, look, Canada has got 99% access.
Doesn't cover large parts of our service market.
Agricultural is always sensitive. Like
doesn't cover large parts of our service market either.
You think the services single market is complete?
I don't. I didn't say that. It doesn't. No, the single market doesn't cover lots of
services. TISA. The WTO, well, it's not technically a WTO deal, but it's going on, Trade and Services Agreement. A lot of this is happening outside of the EU anyway. And services are very different. There's more regulation, I accept that, and you've got to ensure that you get access through fair regulation. But that's a different argument to staying in the single market per se.
Let me just interject here briefly. We finished the second round of negotiations last week, so let's take stock as recess has started. Yeah. The impression I got from talking to fairly senior figures in the government is they thought that this whole issue about EU citizens and here and British citizens within the EU would be sorted within a matter of minutes, and then we could get on to the other chewier issues like the divorce bill and then our future relationship. But it doesn't look that way at all. It looks as if we are actually quite far apart on the standing of EU citizens. What do you think about that, David?
Well, on the EU citizens, I think it was a very generous offer we made, settled status, the full access, like citizens, UK citizens. I think the EU's been very nitpicky about a lot of this. Also, I think it's very mean of them to suggest that UK citizens in Spain or Ireland cannot go elsewhere and work elsewhere in the EU. Surely this has to be reciprocal. So I think there are difficulties, but it is negotiation, and you will get different positions which we work through. I think more seriously, what could completely be the brick wall on these talks, in my view, is the issue of cash. You know, you can't just say this is what we think you owe us without any real argument behind it. I mean, the British government is arguing for, well, how are you getting to any figure, 60 billion euros, 100 billion? I think it's nonsensical. I mean, I think we should pay our fees as long as we're a member, and, you know, it's 19 billion gross a year, it's 38 billion over 2 years in this Article 50 process. That we are committed to. But anything more than that, I just don't understand the logic of it, apart from the EU being broke, potentially.
James, where do you think we're at after the second round finished?
Well, I don't think we're very far along the line, are we? I don't think progress has been particularly good. And as you say, the rights of EU citizens and UK citizens living on the continent was supposed to be the low-hanging fruit. That was supposed to be the really easy stuff. I have to say, I think both sides need to move on this. I think the UK government needs to provide a bit more clarity on things like the cut-off date, and the EU, I think, needs to drop its ideological wedding to the European Court of Justice. But at the same time, I think Britain needs to accept there's going to have to be some sort of dual arrangement where we probably don't win all the time. You know, you can't enter into an agreement with another country or set of countries and get your way all the time. That just doesn't happen. So I'd like to see both sides move, sort this out, because it's causing real uncertainty for people, Brits abroad and EU citizens here, and it's not on. I think it's probably the one area that everybody agrees. I don't think it's a great sign for the negotiations, though, that we can't sort this out, because if you think this is difficult, wait till you, as David rightly points out, start talking about the budget, where, as the Foreign Secretary's told Europe, they can go whistle, which I thought was, from the supposed senior diplomatic voice in this country, hugely ill-judged. Regardless of your views on Europe, these are our closest allies. We're going to need to deal with them in a mature, responsible way forward, and the Foreign Secretary telling them they can go whistle, I don't think is that.
Well, they're not going to hear him go whistling from down under. He's a long way away. James Rigori, thank you very much indeed. David Campbell Bannerman as well, thank you for Brexit, the rematch.